Hey designers, we're taking a break to talk about Design Live.
Design Live by Syncly is one of the design industry's leading software programs for kitchen design.
You may know them better by their former name, 2020, which has been offering professional design software for over 30 years.
And Design Live is so much more than just beautiful renderings.
From complete manufacturer catalogs that are built to save you time creating your drawings, to the largest community of designers for ultimate collaboration.
Which means your projects get designed quickly and accurately.
Design Live is developed for easy collaboration, and it integrates with the other systems to make quoting smoother and clients happier.
Book a demo with an expert today at syncly.com/HYDC and save $200 on Design Live using coupon code HOTPOD200 until August 31st, 2024.
That's CYNCLY.com/HYDC.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Shaun Surha, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
We have a guest today. We have Crystal Bright. Crystal, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. I'm so honored to be here. I'm like a hot young designer. I'm in the club now, right?
Yes.
You are. You're officially a hottie now.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
jumping
why
on
don't
with
you
us.
introduce Can you introduce yourself to our audience and just let them know kind of just what you're all about?
Yeah. So my name is Crystal Bright, and I am a virtual interior designer. And my career really blew up in 2020 in the height of the pandemic. And from there, I have been able to help other designers go virtual and then learn about how to use social media for marketing. And I've also authored a few books on designing using virtual tools to make it easier.
Yeah, I feel like you have a really unique point of view and perspective, like how you operate your business. Is it all virtual?
Yeah, everything's, I just did my first completely oversought project. It was a commercial project here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But before then, everything was virtual. Even my staff is all a virtual conversation. And we do things in-house, we bring in samples and we do a lot of the design work in-house. But yeah, virtually is where it's at. And we've managed to get so much accuracy and managed to do so many projects. We've done over 400 projects in the last 5 years. And it's just been incredible.
Oh my God. So
Huge.
So did you start during the pandemic?
Yeah, I used to be a realtor and I was working for Redfin when the pandemic hit and I had to stop. And when I stopped, my life partner at the time was designing kitchen for multifamily. And I didn't know anything about kitchen design, but he was like, if you learn the software, you could just put the cabinets in a blank spot and I'll be able to have a quote from that, right? And I was like, okay. So I started learning 2020 Design Live, the kitchen design software. And then when I wasn't doing what he needed, I started creating little renderings. I started realizing, I can make real kitchens out of this. And then I was starting to post my pictures on Instagram. And that's when people started to ask me if I could do it for them. And I was like, I need to learn how to actually do this.
Now this is real.
Yeah, this is not real, you guys. But I made it real. And so that was a journey, but with education and a lot of time that I had with the pandemic, I definitely learned what I needed to make it happen.
Wow. that happened so fast. The pandemic years are sort of like a boot camp for launching that business because you had the power of repetition and oops, I messed it up on that project. Well, now I know for the next one. And they're all happening very fast instead of it slowly trickling in for better or worse, I guess.
Yeah, no, the risk was low too because I was offering my services on Fiverr starting out. So it was hey, just so you know, I'm offering you this kitchen plan for $15 because I am not sure if this is going to work out. And
wow.
I know. I realized real quick when I started getting DMs from people like, you're ruining the industry. I was like,
Oh,
I'm getting good. I was like, I think I'm getting good enough to be charging more. I was like, okay, I get it.
Okay.
No, I get it. But still, I had to change things up.
Do you think that was because you just didn't have the confidence yet in what you were giving them for what you were doing? Like, you're just like, I'm still practicing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And practicing, and also like major imposter syndrome. Like, who do I think I am charging real kitchen designer money for what I'm doing right now? And I think that was the biggest thing I had to overcome. And I've helped other designers realize in themselves too, that before they switch over to designer, they're just like a person who dreamt about it, unless they're doing a program. But there's ways, especially in North Carolina, to be a working interior designer and decorator without having a formal education. So I try to help these people do the steps they need to have major integrity behind their business, but also like, you can call yourself whatever you feel like really driven by doing. Like, you're a designer. And that was hard for me to tell myself. It took me 2 years and 2020 Design giving me a whole award for my kitchen designs that I submitted to realize, okay, you can charge real money for this.
You earned it. Well, but
it's
it was
a
so
validating
fast.
thing to know. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And you didn't have like that kind of slow evolution. You were just iterating and evolving so quickly. I mean,
everybody was home. They were not liking their homes. They were asking for whatever they can, just reaching for some change. So I definitely had a lot of interest quickly.
So how did you start feeling confident? I liked how you were saying just balancing out the feeling like you had integrity behind what you were selling. What did you do to help further your education, I guess?
So I took the NKBA courses. They have little like $250 courses, everything you need to know to design a kitchen, everything you know to design a bathroom. And then they have like step ups from that. So when I had money, I spent it on a little course so that I could get that kind of education, even though it didn't give me real credits towards anything. So like, my clients are still taking a chance on me. I'm not NKBA accredited or whatever. I'm NKBA educated. And like that can help me back myself with knowledge. But I do have in my contracts and everything, like these renderings are for, rendering purposes, or only have somebody or have your contractor make sure they check the measurements before you order, things like that. Did I answer your question? Did I?
Yeah, no, that's totally helpful. I mean, I feel that I didn't go to design school either. And so I took some classes through a local community college and just kind of kept taking the classes to answer the questions that I had. Every time I would get a new client that needed something, I'm like, okay, shit, I better learn how to do that.
Now I have to do this. All right.
And I always make sure, obviously, that I'm giving them the best information that I have, and working with, if I need to partner with somebody who has stronger education or more technical knowledge, I'll do that. But I didn't realize NKBA had those courses. That's really smart. So anyway, I would just say that I don't think you need, I know some states require a certain certification, but in California as well, you don't.
That's awesome. Licensing. Because I don't know, I feel like so many times as a virtual interior designer, especially coming from, like, nobody was saying virtual. I didn't hear virtual interior designer before 2020 until I started learning more about these like e-design tribes and things like that. And I was like, okay, so people are doing this. But then I realized traditional interior designers were looking at virtual interior designers like we weren't enough or something like that. Like, it was just like, I would post that I'm a designer or whatever, and this is what I do. And they'll be like, honey, you're not a designer. Like, I'm getting comments like that.
The shade.
I'm not saying that people don't believe that.
That's why I'm like, I appreciate I think I might be over explaining because I'm so used to that kind of energy in the industry. So I want to make sure I let y'all know, like, I'm doing my homework. I'm not out here just saying it. You know what I mean? And I want other designers to know, like, they can go out there and learn as they go and make it low risk for your clients, but you can like learn, and I mean, I can talk about this later, but AI has taught me like all the challenges that I'm facing now, like even with new clients and new challenges, going straight to ChatGPT or something like that and working through the solutions on how to like create what I need or get the clients whatever they need. Sometimes I just plug in the questionnaire and I'm like, how can I best incorporate what they are like looking for, their specific need? Like, AI has
Ooh.
changed the way I cater to my clients, and it's changed my whole process. Like my clients are happier. I'm not getting revision requests. So now if I'm giving any word out there, I'm like, you guys utilize AI. Have it at least check back your work. See if you could do better.
Okay, we're definitely going to dig more into the AI of it all. Like I know you have a whole book about it, so I definitely want to pick your brain about it. I guess I'm interested in your virtual design process because you have all sizes of projects that you work on, right? You're not just doing like one room e-design, like finishes only.
Yeah. So luckily with using programs like Canvas, it's a scanning app where you can use the LiDAR technology on your phone and scan, and we can get measurements from that are pretty accurate. Yes. So that's a part of the process. First, we have our clients give us all our scans, and then we can replicate their architecture using 2020 design. And then, it's easy to do the kitchens and that. But from there, then we take it to a rendering software, which is where I add the furniture. So if I'm shopping for a client, I source a lot of furniture. Well, first, I show them some concepts, but then I source all the furniture. I have the furniture modeled in 3D, and then I have the 3D models put into their home virtually so that they fully see the project finished before they even start.
And so then you're using starting in 2020 and then building from design. So sorry for hotties listening. Like I guess it's formerly known as 2020 and now called Design Live.
Oh, yeah,
but it's been the same. It's the same powerful software that's existed for like a very long time already. So it's just going through some name changes, which is so if you hear us shifting between it, but you go from there and then you're using a different rendering program to adapt those outside of like just the kitchens. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, if the client needs furnishing, then I'll go and I'll take it to my rendering software because I can just loosely, and I usually have already uploaded a bunch of furniture that I've had modeled throughout the years. So it's easy to just put that model into my little 3D world and then put furniture in and out of it until I'm satisfied. Like
Are you using SketchUp?
I use Lumion. So SketchUp is kind of like it, but Lumion's more loose and is not so like gridded. It's more like you're in a virtual world kind of playing a game.
I've heard of other designers using Lumion too.
I have too. Can you bring SketchUp models into Lumion?
Yeah. And 2020 design models into Lumion. You can,
Okay.
And
so
then
you're not having to like start from scratch with what you already built in Design Live. You're able to like incorporate it into other programs that you can work with.
Yeah, exactly. Like 2020 Design Line will allow you to export the file into any kind of 3D file. And then so I just put it into my little world and then put the models in and design and then render. What I liked about Lumion, I'm sorry, I also didn't say that not only do you put the furniture in, but this is also where you render. So you can take your camera, you can take videos all the way around your 3D space. You can take pictures, do effects, styrofoam, all of that.
So it really makes like that realistic rendering from the original model that you built. Like that's where the fancy lighting comes in. And if you want daylight versus interior. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see like, how is the sun going to hit if, your house faces this and it's June of 2025. Like, what's the sun going to look like? We can do that.
It's so fascinating to think about how accessible that level of work is to a lot of designers now, where in the past it was really like you had to be a really big commercial design firm in order to have that, or like a really big architect to get it. But now it's really is all these programs are easier to get to and like at more affordable price points for us to get to. So we can create that really professional polish in our work that kind of was like I don't know. I feel like it adds a lot of credibility for us to have that.
Absolutely. And of course, it's everything for me as a virtual designer, since I can't, come and do it. I have to make you feel really, really confident about what I've done for you and what you've paid me to do. So these renderings being like extraordinary and really picturesque, like photorealistic, really makes the client feel like, okay, I feel really at ease with how this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like an extra step.
I've noticed a lot of, even on the browser, there are ways for designers to create these really awesome renderings now. Even in the last few years, I've seen it develop. And so I think it's really awesome because I'm a part of these groups where they've been struggling. And even though sometimes they do hire me to do the renderings and I'm losing some business there, I do like that they're able to, because they really want it. You know what I mean? They really want to be able to create that beautiful picture and not have it just look like, an e-design with pictures all on a mood board. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I feel like it helps a lot with the selling of what you're doing, even if it's just in the presentation of like the salesmanship of here's your design, here's what we've created. But like you mentioned earlier, how it's helping to reduce revision requests too.
Yeah.
So that leads me to sort of this is more around your fee structure. Like, is it a flat rate project and that's helpful, or it's hourly and that's also helping keeping clients engaged because they don't need a lot of revisions? How does that work for you guys?
So I do a flat rate with one revision included. And then I get a commission on the furniture. And then the furniture is kind of linked in a way that's pretty, like side door. I'm sure you guys have heard of side door.
Mm-hmm.
So I use side door links. And so I get the commissions on that end. I mean, if they don't shop, of course, they can shop,
Sure.
how people are. But if they love me, they won't.
Yeah, or they're just like stressed and overwhelmed and they're like, it's already done, just click it and let's be done with this. Like, yeah, so if they like really love what you did, they're just taking what you've got and just going with it.
Yeah. And of course, there's that revision that we can just play around again and do something else.
Have you tried putting minimums in place, like kind of forcing minimums yet?
I do a minimum square feet because I charge per square feet. So that's kind of my way of being like I know if you might have a powder room, then let's link it with something else because I'm not just doing a powder room,
Got it.
Yeah, because it's just going to take so much. There's so much setup time involved anyway. Like once you're in it for a while, it's just doesn't make sense. It's costing them more to do just a tiny room than it would be to add on something else and keep going.
Yeah, you're not going to do a job for $50, $15 anymore.
Right. Especially I do have a little help. So my contractors, if I'm like, I can't, I'm not doing this part myself and I don't feel like it's worth my contractors. You know what I mean? I just I have to make the choice. But, I listened to your podcast and some of your instruction and of course others about the fee structure. And honestly, I'm dying to know if you guys know what the best thing is. I know when I'm overseeing, I do have like an hourly fee, but like, have you heard a designer to be like, this works out for me perfect every time?
Flat rate?
Flat rate.
I don't think, it's definitely a hot debate. I think you have the opportunity or potential to probably control your time the most.
Yeah, cap it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So I do see how flat rate would work for you and probably would help you sell easier when people can see full transparency on pricing when they don't necessarily know you.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I've been playing with going from flat rate to I'm now doing some more hourly proposals, which I've always resisted because I just want to, I don't know.
You don't want to have to track the time.
I don't want to have to track it. It's not my biggest forte, but
it's hard.
It's also when there's huge projects with big scope of work that I can't quite like wrap my head around in the beginning. It's the only way I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like it goes back and forth with different design. Like quite a few are like all one camp. It's got to be hourly because then you just get taken for a ride and you end up losing money or you're basically making minimum wage by the time you're done. So there's that school of thought under staying with hourly. And then there's the like really hardcore, like I flat rate it and I just have a lot of boundaries in the contract. And then like I'm willing to go, I will do that other stuff, but then I'm going to have to start charging hourly for that other stuff because it's going out of our original agreement. And now we're in sort of uncharted territory. But I do like that idea of just being able to say like, here's that design fee. If you stay within these parameters, this is all you're paying. Then we're done. Like that part is finished. But for me, like doing full service or like being involved in construction project coordination, that I'm like, would be really reluctant to put on flat rate, knowing that some jobs go on longer than I want.
Yeah.
Or I had a job where we lost the drafts person on it. And that, I mean, he had a health issue. It was a big thing, but like I ended up crediting some extra time because we needed to onboard a new architectural partner. And if I had been flat rate, all of that could have been a loss to me. But because I like credited a few hours just to be nice, like I wasn't, like kicking them while they're down. It's like this already happened and it was like out of our control. So I will kind of donate a few hours to help get this new person up to speed. And after those first few like free hours, then it's back to charging because I cannot, this was unexpected for all of us, but I can't do it all for free if they end up needing, 10 plus hours to get everything back to where the previous person was. I didn't want to give it away. And if I was flat rate, I feel like maybe that would have been one of those weird gray area situations that, am I going to charge you more for this now? Or am I going to ask you to give me more? But if I'm hourly, it's just easy to say, I'm not an asshole. Here's a couple hours for free because I know this kind of sucks for all of us. But after that, and that client didn't push back at all. They're like, thank you. We just want to get it back on track. And I felt like there was less resistance because of that. Like they knew I wasn't
trying
being
to like
unreasonable.
Yeah. I told you guys I just did my first install, like overseeing a full salon project here. And that was a flat rate where I'm like, I'm never doing that again. Like I'm only doing hourly rates if I'm overseeing. So I'm like I'm feeling what you're saying now because I am like now on the scene and I see how long things can take. Just when one conversation happens, the whole day can stop.
Oh my God, yeah. Or like one electrical walkthrough and you're like, it was only supposed to be an hour and now I was there for 3 hours with the contractor or something.
Yeah, you're problem solving stuff that you didn't know was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing more flat rate around kitchens and bathrooms and maybe like living rooms or bedrooms that have like a real tight scope of work that I know, okay, there can't be more than a sofa, a table, a lamp. There's only so much stuff that can go in here.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I can control the design process and have limitations and boundaries about redirects, then that's when I'm doing it.
But with the really open-ended stuff is scary because you're just like, well, maybe we're going to do, and you're like, I don't know how to charge for that because your living room could double in size if we end up doing that idea you're having. And I want to get paid for
or are
all
these all
built-ins?
Or am I sourcing furniture or drawing cabinetry? Like that's all different too.
Yeah. It's an overwhelming prospect. I've mostly stuck with hourly. Like it just seems to feel, I don't want to say it this way, but it is kind of like it's my safe place. Like I go back to it, I retreat to it because I know that I can do it that way and that I will not end up losing or feeling like taken advantage of during that type of project if that happens.
To me, hourly protects the designer for sure. I think it can be harder to sell to certain clients. So when you can't let them know what to expect, I mean, I know, give them estimates and after having experience, you can kind of know what that might look like. But I do find that I can close easier on flat rate because they're like, okay, that's all I'm paying.
Yeah.
You're gonna give me all this
and
stuff.
They're done.
Yeah. And I have their money. I'm paid, Like
you don't have to
I
look for anybody and be like, hey, by the way, now I've counted my hours, bring me some money. And they're like, oh, well.
Yeah, or a project goes quiet or something happens and there's delays and now I have to fill my schedule again. Like that kind of stuff happens a lot.
I think that's the being lost. Like you don't want to feel like you aren't made whole at the end of a project or halfway through when they get frustrated paying all their bills. So that's what is kind of attractive about your model with even if that's a majority of your design phase as you start doing some in-person projects. I feel like for sure you've got a tight handle with all these years of work now that you've spent on the like design phase and modeling phase that even that could still just be a really solid flat rate component that's like this won't exceed that. Like, I've been doing this we've got done. All these other things are like, who knows what happens in real life stuff. And that could make sense for like that two-pronged. This part will be flat for sure. This part, we'll take it as it is. Hourly.
I feel like if I was like a better business person, I would just focus on my virtual interior design. Like, it's got an amazing model, return, everything. I went to a business incubator during my time learning. So I like figured out how to run my business really efficiently. But then I'm like, but I want to dive into in-person stuff, and I want to go into people's houses and spend 20 hours, you know what I mean? Just like looking and meditating in their space and learning the area. And like, I know that that's not as valuable, but you know, I feel like a lot of designers are so creatively driven that they, you know, can let go of some of that business stuff. And even like the Capricorn in me is such a business go-getter goat, but I'm like, oh, but I want to just make stuff pretty.
That's the truth. Yeah, it's definitely like a balancing act for those in-person projects because there is so much soul in it, and there is definitely a level of connection to people that can be very rewarding by working with them and like being with them when they're in the depths of construction is sort of this. For some clients, it's that like we were all in this together. Like we shared this experience together, and it still ended up great. Yeah, trauma bonding. Yeah, like we went through it together, or like, oh, we had to go through these different bids, and we were frustrated or surprised by things, and it's like,
but you overcame together.
Yeah, we were a partnership together with them, and there is something really rewarding about that. And then to see their families, you know, their kids enjoying spaces, or
it's so personal what we do.
It feels like that's the part that I feel like we have so much delayed gratification around because projects take so long sometimes that it's really surprising when you get to that phase where you're like, oh, and here's the really juicy part, and this is why people cry on TV, and like that part is really. I like forget because it's so spread out how valuable that really is for people, and we're changing the way they live their lives. And I feel like it is hard if you work distance, and I'm sure it's like that for designers who are working on a lot of projects remotely, like across the country.
Oh God, yeah.
They don't get to see all those everyday moments as much. Or
it's sad actually, because I do get pictures from finished projects. They're never photo ready. Like they're never anything I want to post. But I always, you know, they did everything, and they'll show me the pictures, and I love that. If I wish I could go and photograph it, but I love my renderings. So my renderings are usually my way of marketing myself. But I wish I could be a part of so many of my clients' stories. Like I had clients overseas in Jerusalem, and I did my first kosher kitchen. And this woman was single with her daughter, and she was just sharing every bit of it with me. And I was like, I want to come.
So cool.
No, and that like to see their joy and excitement of like, look what you helped us do is really cool. I think people would want to see spaces. I mean, I know it's different because you have the rendering, but I think there is something to it to like explain like that idea that we get it. You will make some adjustments or you will make some changes, but like you wouldn't have even been able to get to that point if you hadn't started with a really solid plan and were able to talk it through with your contractor, because it's like most people lack the language to be able to communicate that with their builder, and they really need your ideas to do it. And my drawings say the same disclosures, like these are for design purposes only, like the contract. So like, I'm not a structural engineer. Like if they missed that during the architecture,
reframed it differently, like there's all kinds of stuff that can happen.
Hey, hotties, we have way more for you over on the Hot Young Designers Club blog.
It's kind of like having an internet home base that we've been wanting to start.
Yeah, we're over there doing designer features, sharing industry news, and some business updates.
We've always wanted to be able to share our inspirations, so we needed a long-form place to do it, and now we have it.
You got it. So head to hotyoungdesignersclub.com and check out the blog.
I'm curious if you use automation in your process, like to get clients onboarded and what that would look like.
So yeah, in my business incubator, we do have like a funnel where we get emails. I have a blog on my website that has like tens 10,000 monthly visitors because it's all about my AI explorations. Like, so if I'm exploring like Beyonce's new album through interior design, I post a bunch of fun pictures and I explain how I interpreted that. And so through those blogs, we do get
Sean's
people...
attention.
And we funnel that in. And the automation only there is our drop little campaign list, just like, hey, we have this going on, just to keep us in their ears. But yeah, if is that what you mean, kind of like an automated campaign? That's what we do.
Yeah, or like I'm always trying to. So my hang up a lot of the time is repetitive client communication and scheduling. So I just have these blocks around it, and I don't like to do it. So I try to get myself out of the way, and I use, for instance, like they book on my calendar. Acuity automatically sends them my questionnaire, and then they get into my other Dubsado system. Or like when you're asking for Canvas scans, like how you educate them.
So
you have shortcuts, I guess.
Yeah. When you come to my website, I have like this client welcome packet, which I also send you after you book me. And so it has like a whole idea of our process. But on the last page, it has a link to the Canvas, a link to our questionnaire, and kind of like how to get everything going. Mm-hmm. And then that all goes into my little system, which goes into Monday, which is our CRM. And then our CRM will go ahead and ping everybody, all my all my contractors who are amazing and big. And we'll get started.
Because I would think to make this run the most smoothly, you would have to have some workflows in place that just take a lot of the admin, so you can repeat things.
Yeah, I should be, because I learned so much about these workflows, and I got some in place that are really simple. I know Zapier can do all kinds of linked trees,
oh my gosh,
but
I know.
I definitely keep it simple because I know that if I try to keep up with too much, I'm just going to let it all crumble and fall. I get overwhelmed a little bit too easy. So I'm like, okay, we need questionnaires. You can submit your photos. It goes there. You can submit your scan. It goes there. That's it.
Got it. Yeah. Awesome.
Like the onboarding sounds like it is kind of not, I don't mean this, or I'll just say
No, tell me.
It feels somewhat transactional, which is like a bad word in design. Like people look down on that idea of like, we're not a transaction, we're a relationship or whatever. But there's something about the ease.
Yeah, I like how you say that.
I think that's attractive though to the people that are like some people don't want to jump on a phone call and chit chat. Like I don't. I just want to like book it.
I'm like so like, and this is a non-relationship where I don't do phone calls. Like if we can put it in a Loom video, if we put in an email or a way that I can repeat it over and over and over again as I'm at my desk, that also helps free up my time. But also I don't love people as much as I know I need to get my work done. So, and so like, I don't want it to sound bad because as a designer, I do love everybody I'm in front of at the moment. But when I'm in my world, I'm like, oh God, I don't want to start. Everybody who wants a meeting with me can't, of course. I'm sure you guys deal with that too. So I have all these ways to automate it. And I do want people to know that this is kind of like a transaction where there is a very finite endpoint. Like I'm not going to be like piggybacking a lot of this process. When we're done and you've decided no revisions, we're completely done. And if you want to call me again, you can book me. And I don't mean to be, I don't want it to be bad, but I also like to have like people, it goes on forever designing your home. And I realized that after 400 projects, I need to learn how to, boundaries. That was the problem. My first year, I was like fetal position at once a month crying because I had overwhelmed myself with like wanting to be there for everybody who wanted me. And so now the boundaries, I'm like, okay, I might sound kind of like transactional, but I can get it all done.
But I think
you have to.
Yeah, you have to. And that's part of the attraction. Like it is transactional because it's finite. The cost is reflected in that. If they want full service and a lot of hand holding and white glove everything, then that's full service and you pay for it.
Yeah. And I know that I'm not the same price point as these traditional interior designers that would offer all of that. So like the people who are coming to me, I think they understand like this is a kind of more of a something that you can take with you or not, but I'm not going to be like they like the idea that they don't have to do it either. Like they also like that I'm not going to force them. Not that you guys force people, but that I'm not going to have any opinion on what they decide to do after they take my design presentation away.
Yeah. There's like a freedom in how that commitment level is lower of this designer isn't with me through full service. So they're not going to like be upset if I make a change, or I can do this on my own pace and I'm not frustrating them for not getting started. And because some of them
control the whole process, which I have another service that I offer with another designer that I work with here. And it is similar. It's in person, but it is very finite. It's for people who were just going to hire a contractor directly and realize like, oh no, I need someone to help me with selections. But it isn't we don't project manage it at all. So, but that works for a lot of people where they want to be in the trenches with the contractor and they just need some sort of roadmap.
And Shaun, you made a good point because like some people will want to do it in their own pace. And that's why I'll do like a whole house. Like they got their whole house done and they want to do it like this. And so I'll do the design, but of course they're not going to do it all like that month. They're probably going to do it throughout the year. So like there are things like that where I'm like, okay, I see why I have value.
Yeah. Cause they need a roadmap, but they can't, like most of our families. I mean, I'm still working on I will work on single room projects still because that's the scale I'm at. And I appreciate the fee revenue. So I'm in that phase where, honey. Yeah, like, okay, like, let's squeeze it in. Like, I have a lull while we're waiting on permits on one job, like, fill that one in and I make the money off of it. And those families are just as appreciative, because they're also not able to bite off that whole home remodel and they're not able to do those things all at once. It's a lot of money for most families, but they need help and they need direction. And so I feel like a lot of my clients are sort of at that, like, maybe like marginally should not have probably invested in this, but they see the worth in it and they really need that. And they would have ended up with like a worse project. They know that that's a problem for them. And so it's like, oh gosh, you did invest in me, but it also could have been invested in finishes or materials. But even then they still wouldn't have got the best results without our help. So I do feel like it makes a difference to have it. And I'm curious, like, are you open to sharing with the hotties who are listening what sort of your average price point or average client like spend is, if that helps like understand like that transaction?
Like the average client budget kind of thing, like for say a living room would be like, for my client would be between like $15,000 and $40,000 to spend on the living room, and on the furniture, everything, and that includes my fee too, like all of that.
Okay. And how do you feel like on an average per room, the booking on that? How do you feel about the profitability of it right now? Like, are you like could be more, could be less? Like,
Well, I'll share something, and this might be a little long-winded, but like there was a time where I used to live in my car in the valley of like Los Angeles. And and I was like chasing a dream. But now when I started making any money, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't deserve any of this because I'm just using my brain and I'm not spending any money. So the more skills that I bring on, and then the more contractors I find, that like there's this iWorker company that I use for contractors where I'm using somebody in Africa, and this girl is like my sidekick. Like I love her, but it's definitely at a reduced cost. So when it comes to my profitability and the percentage wise, I'm always thinking I'm doing so well. And especially for like just a designer who just learned how to do it herself. You know what I mean? I always feel like I'm doing more than I need. My bills are paid. Like I'm doing more for my family than I've ever been able to do in my life. So I guess it might be a little subjective because I could charge more. And some designers are still telling me that I need to charge more. And they're smart and they've been in the industry a long time and I understand what they're saying. But also I don't want to isolate my current flow. You know what I mean? I don't want to make them feel like I'm leaving them or I'm not that girl who still believes that everybody deserves design at any budget. You know what I mean? I feel like I can always be that girl and I want them to always see me like that girl.
I know there's like that it's like I feel like it's kind of like a worthiness question that's like very personally philosophical of like,
Ooh, yeah.
am I worthy? Did I earn this? Remember it. It's like that remembering where you came from money story of like, this is still better than you've ever been doing. Be
Yeah.
appreciative for that. Like, why would you keep asking for more or
I do
something?
have
It's
that
like,
on my
yeah,
shoulder all the time. And then I have the
yeah,
shoulder who's like, you want to be abundant and buy a lake house and like, have 15 pool
yes,
boys. And so I'm like,
yeah,
okay, well, so I'm going to keep on just like kind of you guys are with your passion. Like I'm doing my business and I'm not trying to change up too much, but I'm picking up other passions that are low expectation, but I feel like
mhm,
will help me feel like I'm contributed out enough to be getting to receive what I feel like I know I deserve in the long run, if that makes sense. Like I know
yeah.
design could do it, but also I'm feeling everything's a feel for me.
I mean, I feel similarly and I totally relate to what you're saying. And I think by tiering services, that's how I've kind of addressed it, where I do feel like I want to be able to help anybody, but not everybody is going to be able to do full service. Like I can't do everything at a low cost. So I
Yeah.
have like services that I have that are accessible to a lot of people, and then trying to spend more time in the higher end services that I couldn't afford
Mhm.
myself. So that always feels weird. You're
Right?
like,
Yes.
I'm not even my own client,
Yeah, I couldn't hire myself.
No. I like that
but it
though.
doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So I think making sure that everything is limited to fit the model that you want it to.
Well, can I ask both of you guys, like, at what point did you go from I'm like a novice designer to I am able to charge, like, whether it was school or not, like, I'm able to charge what I'm worth or a job or experience? Like, what was it that you were like, okay, I'm charging hourly and that's it?
I don't know if I'm still there
I
yet
know.
on
I don't
some
think
of
I'm
it.
there.
We just called each other this past weekend because we were both doing sort of like had to write proposals and we were just like feeling each other out. Like, is this right? Like, I'm adding all these numbers up and this is a lot of time. Like, is that
I
the
love that
right
you have each
thing?
other
Or
for
like,
that. That's
I
dope.
I always have to call Shaun when there's like I have an oh shit proposal to write. Like this
yeah,
number, is
you
this
have to have other
right? Like
designers because like I'll always tell Rebecca it's going to be at least this, and it's always higher than. She's like, really? I'm like, for sure, it's going to be bigger than that. Like, it's going to be bigger. And then
Yeah.
she's like, I don't want to freak them out right now. Like, I do want the project, and so like we're kind of like, it's like a tug of war or like a it's like in negotiation. You're like, I'm going to ask for bigger than I want, knowing that they'll counter a little lower. And we kind of do that by talking with each other sometimes of like, I'm saying, we'll tell each other on our different proposals, like, you should ask for more.
Yeah.
And then the other side of us is saying, and we still land a little bit higher than we probably would have. And on a
but
lot of
not
those, people
inflating
say
it. Like
no,
No,
yeah.
but
but
you guys
people
are
still say
encouraging. Yeah.
yes.
I
Like,
like that. You guys are like saying, like, no, you can ask for this. You can. You deserve to. You can. You earned it.
yeah.
Yeah. I like
Or it will
that.
definitely be more hours than you're thinking it will be because we don't want to admit what it will be and ask for that up front from a
Yeah.
client. And it feels like less scary if you make it a little smaller for them, but it's also,
100%.
they're
Like,
going to be shocked later when we ask for more.
I have a designer just like you. It's like, girl, you're not asking for enough. And you already know it's going to be blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. I guess it's important to have that person be like, okay, you need to step in reality and also don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Right.
Every designer I ever talk to always says I should charge more no matter what rate I have ever said in
Same.
7 years. They're always like, you got to charge more. And I think a lot of us are coming from that place of like, do you know how much of your heart and soul you're putting into your work? You have to get paid more for that. And I do feel like when my rate has felt more comfortable, this is sort of like the how did I know? Like when you were asking, like, is there a point? For me, it's when I started to feel less resentment about what clients or contractors needed from me, is when I started realizing, oh, you're probably in a more appropriate fee structure and payment amount, because I'm not looking at a call coming from a contractor and being like, oh, like, forget that guy. Like, I don't feel like I'm being taken advantage of anymore. And I don't feel a level of like frustration of like, why are they asking me to do this? I'm not getting paid enough for that. I think I finally, have felt now like, oh, I'm in a place where I know I'm asking for a number that is more appropriate, and then they're not trying to take advantage of me. And I don't feel resentment for them because of some number. And it's like my own fault. I gave them that number. Like, why should I resent them for them paying me the number I asked for?
I get it though. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the last few times that I put out a bigger number and gotten the project, that has been like, okay, this is like a new level unlocked, like,
Yeah.
I now can see more clearly where I'm at and operate at that level.
Yeah.
But it's still scary. There's always levels ahead of you.
Always. And then when am I going to be on top? Like,
I know. I mean,
I know. I'm like,
never.
I feel like that's never, because we're always, if there's something about designers, we're always dreaming of something bigger or like a more complex design, or like, oh God, if they had an unlimited budget, like, we know that the sky is the limit because we see those projects in shelter magazines or like on television. We see those spaces that you're like, man, if I had another 20 grand, and so there really is like no limit to what could be created with our imagination and like our skill. So I think that we always push ourselves of like, well, this was a great project, but it could have been better, or there was something I had to sacrifice, or the client had to sacrifice along the way. Like, we know there was more potential still.
Endless.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of endless potential, I want to talk about AI. So AI has been something that designers are having issues with.
Yeah.
And it has like its dark side for sure. And we both dabble in ChatGPT, but I haven't done it. I haven't really played with renderings or used it as a tool. And yeah, I want to hear more how you use it as like an actual creative tool versus, I don't know, I get like annoyed when I see designs that are like, that's not buildable. Like there's a faucet in the middle of the counter.
Oh yeah.
There's no sink. Like
I see. Okay. Stuff. Yeah, totally. I guess. Okay. So I started using AI like for personal stuff. And then I started realizing how good it was at answering my questions. So then they had the way that you can upload images or documents or files or PDFs. And so in my process, I'm just talking my whole process, which I kind of cover in my book, is when the client onboards, I have their questionnaire, the pictures, their Pinterest, everything. ChatGPT helps me analyze their Pinterest for patterns. It helps me like set different things that like are important. It helps me analyze their question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Wait, you can upload ChatGPT can look at their Pinterest?
Yeah, you can take screenshots of their Pinterest boards, or you can like link it and say, analyze this Pinterest and help me find. Well, I don't do it just that easily. I also include their questionnaire and pictures of their home and then their Pinterest board. So I'm like, okay, ChatGPT, this is my new client. This is everything you need to know about them and their Pinterest. And then like, help me kind of understand this client more. And so it analyzes it all and gives me a very thorough kind of rundown of what it feels. Well, not what it feels, what the information is telling it about my client.
Right.
And then from there, so go ahead.
Well, do I have to upgrade my ChatGPT, or is that like...
Yeah, it's ChatGPT 4. So I pay $20 a month for it. It's like their paid version. And only get ChatGPT. Like I know there's a ton of chat thingies out there, but ChatGPT, like open.ai is the one that you get it from. And so after...
Yeah, because there's ones that use chat's engine to build their own interface.
Which,
so
by the way,
you want to stay with the source.
Yeah, but actually I'm gonna dive real quick in that and then dive out, because you can make your own bot. So for every client, I go into ChatGPT and I make a bot for it, meaning like I upload all of that. And now I can create more threads, like a lighting thread just for that client, because it has all of the information about that client. Or for my business, I have my client welcome packet, my processes, my fees, everything included into a bot. So anytime a client reaches out to me or I need to answer a question or create a document, I just say, this is the email, you answer it for me. And then I can it just draws from all the information about my business as my it's like my little assistant. I know, it's amazing, because also my contractors use it too.
So a bot. Okay, so you have to be upgraded to have like a custom bot. So so basically, a bot is like a project that you're creating.
Yeah, it's like a ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT is generic.
Like a mini engine.
Yeah, it's like a mini engine for you've given it the information it pulls from. Instead of it pulling
from each client, you can make one.
Yeah, I make one for each client, and then also one for my business, and then one for my other stuff going on.
So instead of it pulling data from the everywhere, it's pulling from like, these are my contracts, my proposals, my investment guides. Here's all the stuff about me.
Mm-hmm.
So only use Crystal Bright's business when you're answering these questions, instead of pulling from everywhere on the internet.
Yeah.
It's just using your information, which probably makes it more precise, I'm guessing.
It's so precise. As if I'm like, this client's like, and I can upload there's PDF that has like every square footage in each room. I'm like, how much would it be from this client? Like, what am I going to charge this client? Here's a PDF of their floor plan. And it just knows everything. Oh, if you're doing this, you're charging this. If you're doing this, you're charging that. Do you want us to create a proposal now? Okay, create a proposal. It creates a proposal for me.
What?
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps because it's so good. It's so good.
We need to upgrade, Rebecca. We need to get an upgrade and get in there and like
make a bot.
F around. Yeah. We need to F around and find out in ChatGPT.
F around and find out, please.
Yes.
It's so good. But I'm
shook.
I'm gonna pull out a little bit, because from there I do go into concepts, and that's the part where we make images that could be like, the sink is in the middle of the floor. And so that's when, but ChatGPT, I'm good. I teach it. If you know how to prompt, you can create a really doable kind of concept, but the concept's not meant for you to just like take. I create like maybe 50 concepts using ChatGPT's interpretation of the client's design style based off everything they gave me. I create about 50 images, and then I give that to my client as a conceptualization review, which would just be like my design process, like I explained before. We would then take that and then source and then render and then give the client the design presentation. But I noticed that usually at that point, that's when I get the revisions. And then I'm like, oh, but I stopped getting revision requests. Like, I've done this for the last 10 projects that were just strictly virtual. And I wasn't getting revision requests. Like that first section where I was getting the ratings done. And if I was really off and they gave me a bunch of 1 stars, then I would do another set of AI renderings, but I usually don't. And so from there, when they now see that I've incorporated, and ChatGPT is not just like creating spaces, it's thoughtful. I'm trying to create a super personal space. Like it knows me and my design style and how I like to show my design through my clients' life and their stories. So I have questions in the questionnaire that talk about how their ideal day would go and like things that are important to them and personal. And so ChatGPT helps me create personal spaces for them. So when it comes time for me to explain everything, and I've done this whole process in ChatGPT and I have the bot, it helps me with the presentation at the end. It knows everything that we considered. It knows everything that we had in mind. So when we explain that through the presentation, the client they're reading through like an architectural digest of their own home with my renderings, with the AI generated like explanations. Sometimes for a big project, I had an AI avatar do a voiceover speaking over their presentation so they could just sit down for 15 minutes and watch the AI go over their design, go over all the disclaimers, go over everything that we picked, all of the important and like romantic selections we made and why. Like It really makes it like an experience. Yeah. AI is
and you don't
amazing.
have to present.
Yeah, and I don't have to present, and I don't have to cut out all the times I was like, yeah, and like, scratched my nose. Like this perfect little AI avatar will do it for me. And Canva, she's built into Canva. So when I do my Canva presentations, they have this little plugin called Nero, and Nero has all the AI people, and you can plug in 250 words at a time. So I just have her say something per page, and yeah, it's just they love it.
Wow. I mean, no kidding. Like that really makes the flat rate part really makes sense then, because you're not investing so much of like these manpower hours into it.
Yeah. Like for kitchens and baths, that's when we'll go on like Material Bank and have stuff here. And then I really do have to like do more stuff. But when it comes more hands-on things, but when it comes to the virtual world, changing finishes and trying different new things like that are really a lot easier to show them. And then we send, for like kitchens and baths, we do send our clients a Material Bank package to their home too, so that they can see the samples and everything like that. And I love that ChatGPT, by the way, can look online and help me select those as well.
It's crazy.
So yeah, because I've been doing my questionnaires. So a new client kickoff questionnaire, I've been pulling my own like Pinterest photos where I'm interpreting what I've heard from them and trying to find Pinterest photos that I think might relate and getting their feedback on it. But they're always off because this room hasn't been designed yet and by somebody else. And I just, had a big aha moment. And it was taking me time that I'm like digging around. And sometimes they're like, what, girl, you're way off. Like, this is not what I want, or I hate that. But that's, I don't know. So I'm really interested in how that would work for onboarding.
I challenge everybody with like a kind of like a scary thing, because I had a client when I first did it. I have a client who wanted to use Mere Green by Farrow and Ball, and it's like a really teal color, and she wanted that to be like in her dining room, all of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make this super bright teal color work? So I was like, okay, ChatGPT, like let's create some prompts for Midjourney on using this exact hex code in all of these different ways with these different color combinations. And then from there, we found out exactly what kind of scheme we were going for. Because I was like, okay, we can actually make this a beautiful room. And that's why I like that. Anytime you feel like this is a limiting thing, just like now you can explore it quickly. You know what I mean? Because in my 3D software, it would take me, because I would try to do these things on my own. You know what I mean? Like explore different things and then show them concepts. But it's so time consuming, and 3D rendering software, it takes forever.
Or like, okay, they've chose bathrooms that have green tile. I'm going to now go source the green tile and do now the real time, like put these finishes together using my own eyes and my own knowledge. That's fascinating. So you have a book about this, like it's in my Amazon cart right now. Does it go through how you're using these prompts?
It basically goes through my whole process, but it's kind of for anybody, because I do want to offer that for anybody who just wants to do a home project. Yeah, but designers too. So I have it kind of in a language where I'm referring to what a designer would normally do. Like, hey, if you're a designer, you would normally do this. Well, now we can do this instead. Or, hey, friend, if you're in your home, we could look through Architectural Digest, but we could do this too. It also talks through like DIY, handling things on the job, or like if things come up, ways that you can explore, ways you can execute and problem solve. Really specific things without having to go to Google, which I love the best about it, because I was like handling situations that I knew if I Googled it, I would have to read 5 articles to get like the actual answer.
Yeah.
So that helped. I'm like, in this specific situation, this all fell apart and we only have this material. Like, what can we do? And so it will give me some solutions.
So will it do like specification sheets for you, like spreadsheets?
Yes. So it helps me allocate budget. So after I've gone through everything I need for my client, like now we're going to buy all the stuff. And I'm like, I want to make a super complete, beautiful room. So we have this much money. How much do I spend on everything? And it creates a spreadsheet, like an actual Excel spreadsheet. You can copy and paste it, or you can just export it. And then you have your allocated funds. Or even when I'll tell it, like, I got this, this, and this, and this, and this. Can you make a spreadsheet for my client? And it'll do it. Like, it's just an amazing tool. People don't understand, I think, because just last 6 months ago, it wasn't doing the same things that it does now. So it's hard to keep track. Yeah. So it's not because people, and I also know that so many people are afraid of AI. And when I talk about it, it sometimes is like, I promise you, I'm not asking you guys to steal art and lose your own creativity. I'm just telling you it can take your creativity further. Like I wanted to, have you heard of, Minnie Mouse? Everybody knows Minnie Mouse. Well, in a show, she has like a boutique where she sells bows. And I wanted to design this boutique, but I'm like, how do I even start? Well, Midjourney helped me figure out how to make Minnie Mouse boutique for this really specific pop-up situation. And it's just amazing what it does. It takes your creativity so much further. It lets you see what your creativity has in mind so that you can now add to it or change it. Or like, I just want people to not think that it stifles all imagination.
It's another tool for us to work with.
Yeah, I love it as a tool for getting some like initial ideas kind of going. And we still have the ability to cull and edit before we're sharing anything. But also some of this admin stuff. I'm like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Get these spreadsheets and make sure they're accurate or like cross-reference things like this client has this as their wish list. Did I actually choose all the items or am I missing something?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, does this, like, are you able to feed in data that you're creating from Design Live into this? Like, because I know Design Live prepares like the materials and the estimates and like it has all the quantities.
Yeah.
And you're able to grab that information too for the rest of this modeling and like the rest of the process, right?
Yeah. And I can include that in. And it's easy because sometimes I will be like sourcing like handles. And of course, ChatGPT, not Chat 2020 Live or Design Live or Syncly, it'll tell me like how many handles we have, how many knobs and like everything. It helps me break down everything for the client.
God, that saves so much time.
Makes the presentation
that's like
so beautiful.
Such a pain point.
Yeah. Just counting knobs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're not going to miss one.
I feel like I do it like 10 times and I come up with a different number every time. Like, what is wrong with me? I need a robot. So Design Live, because the beauty of Design Live, from what I understand, is it has all of the, like, if you're a kitchen and bath designer, it has all the cabinet companies already in their database, right?
All of the catalogs are in there. A lot of like even the handle and pull companies are in there and appliances. So everything that you're like the whole kitchen, 2020 Design Live can design your whole kitchen, like hood range, everything, countertop, how you want your countertop cut. Yeah, to spec, like your cut sheet for the countertop. If you're building your own cabinets, they have an export for all the pieces you need to build your own cabinets. Like it's so specific to spec. And you're working with these cabinet companies that you have this like everybody works with not everybody, but so many people work with 2020 that it feels universal when you're going back and forth to different companies, et cetera, with the same plans, especially for my virtual clients. They'll take my 2020 renderings and they will shop and they all know what they're looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're able to take that exact package and then an order can be created by that cabinet company directly based off of that. There's no like guessing or rebuilding or like substitution isn't they don't have to substitute anything if it was built with those original pieces in mind in the design.
And luckily, like they all use the same language. Like a base cabinet will be a B36 for all of the companies. So like when they see that on the plan,
that saves so much time for. I mean, even if you were doing full service design, that still saves you a lot of time. Of like, hey, cabinet guy, here's the shop drawing. Like, you do whatever you want with it now, but I know I gave you something accurate that you can build off of, and it makes it the shorthand so much easier for the rest of the project when that's already done. There's something really cool about having all of that finished really fast too, because it's just dropping in that full cabinet configuration really quickly.
Yeah, and I think that made it easier for me to go into interior design because I did start focusing on kitchens, but then kitchens, they're kind of easy to sell, especially around that time because everybody was just redoing their kitchen. So then I got to creep into their living room. And we'll start in the dining room, start with the counter. Actually, it starts with the counter stools and then you creep your way in.
Yeah. We were just talking about counter stools. Yeah, counter stools are like the entry level furniture. sell
the
people.
gateway drug.
That's what I was thinking. It's the gateway drug to like, well, you need this. And then, okay, well, what about over here?
Yeah.
And it does start to make it like an instant credibility builder to start with like, here's one of the most complex spaces, and I'm making this really smooth and like flawless for you. So I can obviously handle the other stuff because everybody in there, I mean, most clients, they know a kitchen is complicated and they don't want to make mistakes. So having something like Design Live to make that really easy, very streamlined, and it's like kind of pre-built around the design standards makes it like there's less guesswork involved in the process. So that's really
especially when you're
great
getting
for clients to feel like, oh, well, of course.
Well, the clients don't even need to know. Like, you just feel more confident, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Well, quitting everything, I'm going to become a virtual designer. Kitchens and baths.
And we need to upgrade our
balance. I've heard.
Upgrade our Chat GPT membership.
That's done. Your book is in my Amazon cart. I'm going to buy it as soon as we're done here. I'm all about streamlining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting myself out of the way.
I say you save little amounts of time 1,000,000 times, and you realize that you've saved your whole life. Yeah.
Is this how I'm going to only have to work 30 hours a week? Like
30-hour work week.
Maybe.
Or just the things that I like put off because I know I have to focus and I have to highlight spreadsheets and make sure that I'm not missing something.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is really fantastic, Crystal. You've given us so many great things to think about. And I know the hotties are writing lots of notes during this. Can you tell them where they can follow along and find you?
Yes. So on social media, I love interacting with my followers at Crystal D. Bright. And my interior design firm is called Living Bright Interiors. And that's where my fun blog is, where I share all of my AI explorations. And you can find links to my books from there.
Ooh, awesome. That's so fantastic.
Yeah,
we'll put them in the show notes.
We'll link in show notes. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This was really exciting. I'm going to dig in.
We're invigorated to try a couple new things. So thank you so much for joining us today, Crystal.
Thank you, guys. It's been a huge pleasure.
Until next time.
Stay hot, designers.
Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.